Yeah, let's talk some draft crushes from these All-Star games that just went down.
Woo!
All right, welcome back to Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Lupagus here with Onebar, and we just had the East-West Shrine game. We just had the Senior Bowl. All kinds of prospects being poked, prodded, and perverted. And the Vikings definitely looked at a few of these. So we're going to talk about some of our crushes, maybe guys who got on the radar after these two games and these weeks of practices.
Yes. Before we get to that, remember, hit that sub button. Let's get the 9,000 subs. Grab yourself a cold ass lift bridge. I'm having me a real nice farm girl here. And let me tell you, it tastes delicious. So get to the liquor store, get a farm girl, maybe two.
Hell yeah, why not? So let's do it. We're gonna take some from each game, some from the East West Shrine game, some from the Senior Bowl. Just some names that we kind of started falling in love with a little bit.
Yeah, and to be clear, I had a handful of draft crushes out of these games. So in the comments, let us know some players that you would like to see in purple. We're only doing 2 apiece from each game, so there's plenty more.
Absolutely, yeah, and I had a lot more too, and some we've already talked about, and a few we're going to talk about a little bit more. But I'm not going to say some of these are actually crushes for me. These are some guys that I'm just like, okay, you got my attention. Now I'm going to dig a little deeper on you.
Whoa, lucky.
Do a little deep digging. All right, not deep digging, deep digging. All right, who you got? Give me your first one.
Well, we're starting with the East-West Shrine game, and I mean, both of these games, Lupagus and I already talked about. I mean, the quarterbacks were definitely not a strong suit of these games. I mean, it was they were actually kind of gross. But I gotta say, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, UCLA, he's grown on me a little bit. I mean, it's always fun to watch some of his highlights and stuff, but man, I mean, I just think he would be a very interesting quarterback to throw in the mix. It's gonna be very. The big question with him is, where's this guy going to go? Is some team going to fall in love with him early and take him way earlier? Or is he a guy that's also going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe he's there in round 6, round 7. But, I mean, his stats in the game weren't great. He was 7 for 17, 95 yards. But just watching him move around in the pocket. And then, you know what? He showed off that arm. That thing went 65 yards in the air. And I'm sick of the Nate Stanleys. I'm sick of the Jake Brownings. I want a guy that we take in the draft that can make things happen with his legs.
Yeah, there's something about Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Just when he went out there and was under center, he's got a little bit of an aura about him, and he looks the part. There's something there about him, so I'm intrigued as well. Yeah, his performance in the game was up and down, hit or miss, but even when he was doing things bad, he was looking good while he was doing them. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say where he'll go up the board. I totally can't guess him. Ever since Ian Book was a 4th-round pick a couple years ago, I have no idea. I mean, it takes one team to fall in love and pull the trigger. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went late 3rd or if he ended up going in the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, he comes into the perfect case scenario. He's going to come in, and he is by no means even probably shooting for the backup spot. He's coming in, develop, see what happens, and I would be all for this guy.
Absolutely. All for one and one for all. I'm going to go with a guy I've already talked about, and I don't think he did a whole hell of a lot in the game, but I just love the way this guy's put together. Havoc Baldonado, the defensive end from Pitt. Just a long-limbed guy. He's got big, long arms. He's got a big, long torso. He just looks the part, and I think he's a guy who could play inside at D tackle. He could play end. He could play that 5 tech and a 3-4 front. I think this guy gives you a lot of versatility with him, and I've kind of seen in mock drafts now he goes late 4th, 5th round. I think it's a great time to get a guy like this. He made a couple plays in the game. What he is, he's not explosive off the line. He kind of battles through his man, watches the play, and then he closes super quickly. So he's kind of a silent assassin. You never see him coming. You'll never see me coming. And that's Havoc Baldonado, and I love saying his name, Baldonado. This guy's definitely on my radar now, and this is one guy I do have a crush on.
Old Baldy. Yeah, I'd be all for this guy. I mean, I wouldn't care if we took defensive line every single pick of this draft. I would not even care because that's where we need it. And you know what? There's been some damn good defensive linemen that came out of old Pitt.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Who you got next? Who's your guy from the East-West Shrine?
Well, I'm going with another edge rusher. I'm going BJ Thompson. BJ Thompson, the man, the legend, Stephen F. Austin, coming out of this small-ass little school. But this dude was just ripping shit up. I mean, he was consistently in the backfield. He had 2 sacks. The guy's 6'6", 238 pounds, explosive, athletic, powerful, hungry hippo. I love this guy. He was all over the place. I mean, say no, he come from the small school, but he was making some of those offensive linemen look damn near silly. And I know it's going to come down to what kind of defense we run in. Do we want an edge rusher? What's going to happen here? Because he's definitely undersized. But if you watch that game, you cannot deny that you love BJ Thompson.
Yeah, I love BJ's, and you love seeing the small guy step up. You know, that's always the big knock in these guys. We're always going to fare against better competition, against different competition, and we see it time and time and again. These guys, they're great football players no matter who they're going against, and he showed it in that game. He was a wrecking ball. Some of those plays were kind of given to him, though. I mean, like bobbled snaps, and it was pretty gross. Some of those executions on the offensive side, but you know what? That's not his fault. He was there covering that thing up, creating pressure. So yeah, BJ Thompson definitely made a mark for himself.
Yeah, and looking at his draft profiles, everybody talks about his spin move. He's got some good moves too. He's not just like this guy that's just athletic and tries to run around you. So I think he's definitely a project. But yeah, I love him.
All right, my next guy not only woke me up to himself, but also just to this position being a potential draft target for the Vikings. No, it's kicker. It's kicker. Jake Moody, the kicker from Michigan. Big old booming leg on him. He hit 2 from 51 in this game, 2 from 35. He never missed an extra point in college. And kicker's kind of this position I kind of just didn't really think about in terms of the draft until now. Like I was just thinking, okay, we'll either re-sign Greg Joseph or bring in some other veteran, but why not? You know, if you have a 6th, 7th round pick, why not take a kicker? A guy like this with a ton of upside, came in, kicked, you know, when all the spotlight was on him, hit twice from 51 with plenty to spare on both those kicks, by the way, and then hit from 35. Everybody who's a Vikings fan loves the fact he's never missed an extra point in college. Jake Moody, bring him on in. Why the hell not at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I do not want to draft a kicker. I want to get a kicker. I do not want to spend a draft pick on a kicker. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Would you have spent a draft pick on Ryan Wright, knowing how good he is?
No, because we didn't have to. But I mean, even in these games, to be clear, I mean, Moody definitely missed a lot of field goals in his college career. In these games, they don't rush the kicker at all. They snap the ball. There's no urgency. They get as much time as they want, and they just go kick the thing. That said, he did look fantastic. I love me some Moody. So I'm all for it. I don't want to use a draft pick on him at all. We're done with the draft picks. Look at some of the best kickers in the league. None of them are drafted. None of them. I mean, Justin Tucker, not drafted. So I would love him. I just don't want to use a draft pick on him. I think drafting a kicker actually adds more pressure on them. They're like, holy shit, they actually use a draft pick on a kicker.
And it depends when. I mean, if you end up getting a couple extra comp picks and you have, it's like when we drafted the long snapper a couple of years ago. It's like we had so many picks that year. It's like, why the hell would we take a long snapper at this point?
17 picks.
So if you do accumulate a lot of picks, I don't see why not throw a 6th, 7th round pick on a guy who's probably going to, have a pretty big role in your team. That's a good use of a draft pick, in my opinion, other than getting maybe some, scuzzy old tackle who's going to be cut in the preseason.
It's true. It's true. It's fair.
All right, let's go to Senior Bowl. Who you got for the Senior Bowl?
Senior Bowl. I'm going to go with I was really looking around for some cornerbacks, and I'm going South Alabama. I'm going Darrell Luter, 190, 6 feet tall. And one of the big reasons I want to go after him is everybody says he's just a big sleeper. Nobody's talking about him. He's a big sleeper. He's going to get drafted later than he probably should. I mean, the guy's got great ball skills, good instincts. He had a great practice. I don't even remember seeing him during the game, to be honest with you. But everybody's talking about during the practice. Good size, projects. He's going to be an outside guy, and he's not going to be a guy that comes in and just all of a sudden is by any means starting as a rookie or maybe even year 2. But he's going to add nice depth. He can come in as a nice 3-4 guy, and it's all about what he can bring to the table. And Darrell Luter. We need cornerback help. Bring him on.
Luter in the cooter. Why not? Again, I don't love the idea of going corner early in round 1. I rather do
this wouldn't be early. I know.
So I like the idea of finding a guy, a hidden gem down the road. Luter, why not? I'm gonna go with another quarterback. I don't love this guy, but now he's on my radar. I'm looking more into him, and I'm seeing where he potentially could come off the board. We already talked about Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Let's look at Jake Haener, the quarterback from Fresno State. They're kind of comparing him to Brock Purdy during the game because he's got similar size. He's not going to wow you with his overall physical abilities. He can take off and run, make plays with his arm. Doesn't really have a cannon. He throws a pretty accurate ball, but he can create enough movement in the pocket to get out of some pressure. In the game, there's 12-19 for 139 yards and a 44-yard touchdown to that beautiful Stanford receiver, Michael Wilson. And I think he actually was the MVP of the game. But again, a project quarterback. I think the Vikings are going to take one at some point in this draft. I still like Thompson Robinson more, but Jake Haener is now on my radar, and I'm going to start looking at this guy a little bit more and maybe seeing what he can bring to the table.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue anything. I don't care what quarterback they take. If they take quarterback, I'm going to be happy. So while he might not be sexy, he's like I don't know. It's a really gross.
Well, I just think he's like the next big, because, Brock Purdy hits, and everybody's looking for the next Brock Purdy. And
he hit because
we always compared to him.
Great offensive line and great defense.
What's that?
Brock Purdy wouldn't have done the same thing on probably 25 other teams.
Exactly, but you can't deny it's going to be the next thing, though, trying to find the next Brock Purdy.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to – I won't be upset one bit if they take him. It's just I would rather they go more of a higher upside route.
Yeah. I mean, I would too, but I'm going to look at him and see if it's, round 5-6, you need a quarterback and he's there. Why not? Maybe he's got a little something to him.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Michael Wilson, because I love this guy probably a lot more than I should. Damn, he was getting rave reviews all week at practice, and then he comes out and has a fantastic game. I mean, it's all about his upside. He's got great size. The dude is a fantastic route runner, wide receiver from Stanford. He's silky smooth. He's not stiff. I mean, even watching him, you can just tell he just was like moving like butter out there, just beautiful melted butter, and he showed it. His big thing is injuries. He can't stay healthy, and that's going to be a big risk. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where this guy goes as early as round 2, 3, 4, whatever, if he just continues to fall. But I mean, he's a guy who could step in day one and be like a number 3 wide receiver.
Wasn't it like he's played 4 games in 2 years? It was something crazy. I heard him say.
It's like it was like 13 games in 3 years. I don't know. It's something weird.
Yeah.
And he's definitely had some injury issues, but fuck, did he look good?
He did. He just looked kind of like a man amongst the boys out there. He looked like an old vet against some rookies.
Yeah, he can return punts. He's a great special teamer. Love him.
Yeah, I wasn't going with the number receiver. I'm going to change it now. I'm going to change my up. I thought you were going to talk about this guy, but I think we both love this guy, but let's do it. The center from Minnesota, John Michael Smits. Just simply arguably the best lineman there. I mean, this guy was dominating in the entire week, looked great in the game. A guy who was probably a second-round pick, maybe even a late second-round pick. Now he's getting bumped up into the first-round talk. I think he'd go anywhere from the Vikings pick at 23 to, I guess pick 31 now, because there's only 31 picks in the first round. This guy really, really helped himself. He's just so damn fundamentally sound, strong, tough. Everything about this guy is just grading up very, very high. And I love the fact that he's a gopher, and he just dominated at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I hate the thought of taking a center only a couple years after Garrett Bradbury. Who gives a shit? It's a huge need. It's all going to depend on how much the Vikings love Bradbury. But if they took him, it would be great value. You can't deny it. The dude, powerful, athletic, dominant. I mean, he's everything you want and we need. So hell yes. And the fact that he's a golfer is just real nice little sprinkles on top.
Yeah. And the more mock drafts I do, like, there's always just seems like I'm always so tempted to move down a few spots because there's still like 5-6 guys who I'd love to take. So he's a perfect example. You move down maybe 5-6 spots, he's still there. You get him, you're getting a great player and some extra picks. It's just a win-win.
Yeah, if I was smarter, I would have looked and actually seen, like, team need wise, who actually needs a center around that our picks, like from there to 31. It'd be very interesting. But I mean, teams can always trade up, but teams, they're very reluctant to also grab a center in round 1. So might get some.
Yeah, the Bengals are one that come to mind for me. I think they need help in the interior. I'm sure there's a couple more, but yeah. So that's it. Those are some guys, some crushes, some radar guys, some guys we found during these All-Star games. Let us know if there's anybody else in the comments. I'm sure there's plenty that you guys like, guys you fell in love with, or maybe guys you just are starting to look into a little bit more.
A lot of running backs. A lot of those running backs being talked about. Sharp, the big boy from Utah. I mean, there's some very good players there.
Yeah, you could probably get a running back like a week after the draft. Get a good one. Everybody's signed. All right, so let us know in the comments about that. Don't forget, hit up Lift Bridge. And also remember this: historical records indicate that pirates rarely made anyone walk the plank because it was just easier to push them overboard.
Oh my God.